Brought to you in part by Susan Shoup at Exclusive Realtors, servicing northwest suburbs, west and south Chicagoland, including Will and Kankakee counties. Hey everybody, welcome back. I think this video is going to maybe solve a lot of people's questions on gears, because as far as the 5th gen with the 321 and the 392. Because we are going to swap those gears with the truck with no other changes, just the gears. So you'll get as close as you can get before and after comparison with no other changes. Because a lot of these comparisons I've been seeing are, a truck with like a street type trim with 321s, versus one that's like an off-road setup with 392s, and people are saying the 321s are better, and back and forth. I don't know, to me a truck needs like at least like a 4-to-1, unless it's like the TRX and has a supercharger on it. But we're in the preliminaries right here, trying to get things started today. One of the first things, I got this used for about $400, so it's a pretty good deal, being that there's no setup involved with this, and it's just a drop-in basically. But what I did to verify, there is a sticker which I'll show of the gear ratio. It does say 392, but I took these 4 bolts out, and this is the axle disconnect. And what you can do is slide this collar so that the 2 sides are connected. And I had put marks here and spun this, and I put a line here and a line here, and they both spun together. It's not a posi, but there isn't enough drag to make one side spin the other way, so they both spun the same direction. Spun this 4 times, and this went just a touch over, which would tell you it's a 392. So with that done, I probably won't put this one back on, just because the one on my truck is brand new, basically, since it's a 23. So I'm just going to put this on the one I take out. As far as I know, this one works, but I would just rather put the new one, the newer one. This is supposedly out of a 23, but who knows? I'm just going based on what the word was. But based on the numbers, it does look like that's where it came from. So the next move, I will do a run with this. I probably will put it on here, but I am going to make more than one video on this, because I'm going to do one for the front and one for the back, and then one for the comparison. But I want to get this run in before, because there is not going to be any other changes between right now and then, because I do have a draggy run of this truck a couple months ago, but it was a lot newer. I don't think it was all in, some parts broke in a little better now, and it might be a little different. So I didn't want to use a run from like when it was 60 degrees outside, or so I don't even know, it was warmer out. That could skew the numbers. We're going to talk about there might be a temperature change of 10 degrees out here, or maybe none, but I'm going to try to do them back to back as soon as possible. But I am going to need to break the gears in first, so we'll see how long I go with that. But one run won't kill it, right? So we'll get on with it. So as you can see, it ran a 1544, which is actually the fastest it's ever been. And since I had done that, I've added weight to this thing. So it must have loosened up a little bit, because it is a little quicker. So I think it ran a 15.5, and that was before I put the winch on it and a couple other things that added some weight. I think it was before the fuel tank, I'm not sure. But that was a full tank of gas. To eliminate all questions about fuel, I put 92 in it. to do this. And the last time I ran it, it had premium also, so it's, you know, the only difference was a little bit warmer, but not that much. So I think that's pretty good. 1544 for what this thing is, you know. These steel wheel spacers, I know they added a little bit of weight, but they are tight, so I'm not too worried about, you know, the weight. It's not on the, you know, outer edges where it could cause, but it's still unsprung weight though. So we are going to get this front diff out of here. Now, basically, it's going to be the same process of when I did the lift. Now I'm going to leave it up here. I'm going to just get on a little bit on a ladder because I don't want to raise and lower this thing a bunch of times. So I just had to take a couple steps up on the ladder and undo the control arm, take the caliper off, hang it, get the strut out of there. I am going to put a 1/2 inch, or it's a 1/4 inch spacer, which is supposed to do a 1/2 inch lift, just to give me a little bit more. But the front diff, I think, is going to be pretty easy. Now your best bet is to look at what you got here on the table, okay? And so you have, this is the driver's side, passenger side. And as you can see where the mounting bolts are, so there's 2 there. You got 2 on the very top. These are the most pain in the ass ones, okay? And I'm going to show you that right now in a minute here. And then you got these 3 here, and then the drive shaft, and that's it to get it out of there. So besides popping your half shafts out. So those 2 bolts are up here. Now I already took them out, and there's this on a, I don't know if this is, I saw another video and this piece wire thing didn't look like it's there. Right here, that big black thing. I don't know if there's a tube in there or what, but it pushes onto the studs hanging off the oil pan. That's what holds it up. But I had to move it out of the way. But 1 bolt is right behind there, which you can get a ratchet through here to get it out, but it takes a little bit to get it out because you can't really get your hands in there very well. But the front one, up on the top, here we are coming through the front. The front one is right behind the hose. The hose moved back, but you can move the hose out of the way. It goes right here. And you can do that right from the front here, no problem. So I decided to take those 2 out first. With having those out, those are probably going to be the last 2 bolts I put back too. So yeah, it's just going to be much simpler just to get them out of the way first, because it's very hard to reach. So this nut right here is a 36 millimeter. So if you don't have that socket, you're going to need to get a 6-point 36 millimeter socket. I did not have one, and that was something I had to run and go get. So not a huge deal, but nevertheless, I had to do it. So everything else I should be fine with. I think I'm gonna just remove the calipers and then just let this stuff hang on there to stay there. I don't see that I have to remove the rotor. So we'll see. If I have to, I will. But so we're gonna do the drive shaft, which is 4 bolts. This here, the sway bar, I'm gonna unhook it from the control arm, take the 2 off here, and then I'll work on doing the upper ball joint. I have to separate that so that I can get the strut bolt off and pull the strut out of there. It doesn't really have to come out, I don't think. It's just as long as this control arm can swing down and you can get this half shaft out. But I will get those things off, because if you want to see how those come off, you can watch my lift video. Okay, so with the magic of video, we are to that point. Now, I do have the upper strut bolts still in there. I can take that out later for that spacer, because it looks like I don't need to take it off. If you do not need to remove it if you don't want to. So what I did do though is unplug. I left all this stuff on and unplugged this wire harness for the ABS from right there, and then I just pulled it down. I'll just snap it back in, you know, when I put it back. The axles, I just used a pry bar right there and just pushed a little bit and it just popped free. This side was a little tighter. I had to use 2 pry bars next to each other and do it evenly, and this one popped pretty free also. So now I just need to slide these axles out and unplug that plug right there. On top there's a red safety lock. You gotta undo it and then it just unplugs. And then all I have to do, then this cross member, these 4 bolts, and then you can take the rest of the bolts out and just drop this thing out. So I got those 3 bolts loose there. They're actually out. And those 2 there. So it's just hanging on this. And I didn't do anything else. I just took the bolts out. So now I'm going to lower this down and I can get this to the table. I'm going to switch out that actuator. And that thing will not come out unless you remove this anyway. So like if this was ever a problem, the power steering's in the way. So you would have to either remove the diff or the power steering. I don't know which one would be easier, but yeah. So we're gonna try it. I don't think anything's in the way. And there you have it. Like I said, it's not that heavy, so I'm gonna go put it on the table. So I got these swapped out. So it's basically just the 4 bolts, and there's a fork that goes onto the collar that slides and engages. But that's the original, the 321, which says it right on there. And again, 392. So this is pretty much ready to go in. I'm probably just going to throw it up and then I'll clean up these splines and put a little bit of grease on it, because they recommend doing that so they don't get stuck in the future. Okay, I got all but 1 bolt in, the one that's going to go right in here. I got the one that goes up in the front. Now I'll tell you, these are a pain in the ass. This is probably the longest part of the whole job, is these bolts. So the rest are all loose, so this can move around a little bit, the diff just a little bit to get them started. But to help get that one up front that I just showed you in there, I ran that bolt in from this side so it would line the hole up. You know, it's going through, coming out the other side there, lining it up. So now I'm just going to take it out, flip it around, and put it through the correct way. The trick worked. It's hard to see it up there, but that bolt's in. I flipped it around the other way, no problem. Went back, came through the right way, threaded right in. So, but I had to do that and put the front one in to line it up. So I did test these, make sure that they the threads weren't messed up before I even put it in here. So the good thing is let's say that you were to say you were wanting to do this job, but maybe you don't have enough time to do the front and back, because you might have to drive it or something like that. As long as you leave the front drive shaft out, you can leave this in there and you'll just have a 2-wheel drive truck until you get to the back. I mean, I'm not going to do that, but you can do it to where if you were in a crunch and you got the front all back together and you're like, oh, I got to take it somewhere, you could. Just leave the front drive shaft out and there will be no issue. I got a good coating of grease on this side and the other side. You want to make sure you get that O-ring. Okay, so pretty much got everything back. Just I don't have the bolts tight yet, but that's pretty much it. I mean, all I did was you put the drive shaft in first, because you can't get it out with the sway bar in the way, and then replace the sway bar. I just have to run these back where they go and plug them in. But that's it. Other than the top two bolts that were a mother effer, it's not bad at all. I could tell you that. So the only, I do have to fill it up because I did empty it because I was going to put brand new fluid in it. So there is the fill plug. There's the drain. And that fluid there is from when I removed that piece. Some leaked on the table and it got on it. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with, like I said, everything but the two bolts was the problem. I should say the two bolts were the only problem, not anything but yeah. Now I have to do the back. It sounded like Amazon showed up, so I'll be able to get, I need the tool for the rear axle. It once you slide these out, it goes in there and you can loosen this preload off the side bearings on the carrier. So there is no shims on the side of the carrier, so it's a little different. It looks like back here, I'll probably just take the sway bar off and then the rear cover and the drive shaft. So, and these brakes. So what would help with those two bolts that I was talking about is you can get a ratchet on them once they go in far enough, but when they are not in all the way, or after they get about halfway, you have to use a wrench. And I do not have an 18 millimeter ratchet wrench. So if you have one of those, that will be a lot quicker. And if you don't have, I think, like I said, there was a hose that was kind of in the way that it kept falling in my way and aggravating me. So there's that. But a ratchet wrench would have made that part go a lot faster. So I would have went out and bought it, but I didn't feel like leaving again and do it, so I just dealt with it. So that's going to conclude putting the front diff in. I probably will start on the rear tomorrow morning. So I'm hoping that goes smooth. I've done a million of those, and you know, of course, for me, probably something will happen, but hopefully not. I would say that I could usually do those rears, and this one, it looks like it's going to be like a 3-hour job. So won't be like this one. It was those bolts, and the fact that you have to line those bolts up too before you tighten all the other ones, or else you won't be able to get them in. So yep. So until next time, please like and hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time.